Welcome to The Nation. I'm Rachel Smalley. A lack of skilled workers is forcing some New Zealand companies to bring in up to 75% of their staff from overseas. That's according to Rural Contractors New Zealand. Its outgoing president, John Hughes, says there is money to be made in rural contracting, but few New Zealanders can do the work. This when New Zealand's unemployment rate sits at 6.1%. John Hughes joins me now from Invercargill, along with Calvin Fisher, Secretary of the Amalgamated Workers Union Southern in Christchurch, and Bruce Wills, President of Federated Farmers in Hastings. Good morning to you all. Thank you for joining us this morning. John Hughes, if I can start with you. You've had your annual conference, and one of the big issues you're facing is a lack of skilled workers. Why is that?
That's right, Rachel. Good morning. It's not a new problem. It's a problem we've had for some considerable time. We've got a situation in New Zealand where the rural industries aren't getting the young people, aren't getting people out of the education system that are coming into the rural sector and wanting to learn and wanting to pick up the skills that would put them into a global market, really. That's the problem. OK, Calvin Fisher, is this because you think New Zealanders don't have the skills or perhaps don't want the skills?
Oh, look, I think it's a bit deeper than that, to be fair. It's about what's happening with the industry's ITO. The government's pouring millions into that. It's about families not being incentivised to be in the rural area for the threat of being disadvantaged for their benefits on a seasonal basis. We haven't got a good connection between the government departments, and there are clearly issues for the contractors and workers who might take the risk.
I think what you're referring there to, Calvin, is when the government has said, you know, if you're in a small community, you know, your benefit is a little bit under threat there because you need to be in an environment, you know, seeking work. But, of course, that brings up issues for seasonal farm work. If I can bring you in here, Bruce Wills, a lack of skilled workers, struggling to get good labour. So what does that mean for the farming industry as a whole?
Listen, it's just one of the challenges that we have, and it's when you look at the numbers, Rachel, it's pretty telling. We recently did a survey. 86.5% of our survey respondents were New Zealand citizens, so that leaves a big gap. And I guess when you break those numbers down, we're talking about 20% of the dairy labour force on our survey telling us that they're working on temporary work visas or holiday work visas. You break that again down to the South Island, you're looking at about a third of the people that we rely on to milk our herds in the South Island being immigrant labour. So that's substantial. OK, Bruce, where are these immigrants coming from? What are their nationalities? Listen, there's a real mixed bag, predominantly the Philippines, but all over, lots through Europe. So there's there is a mixture, and I guess these things, it's not all bad. It's bringing a real diversification, but it's bringing some challenges with it. OK, John Hughes, tell me, give me an idea of, you know, the skills that people need to work in this industry and what sort of money they can make.
The skills needed, people use the term tractor driver, and it's a term that annoys me, really. It's not about just driving a tractor. It's operating machinery, big machinery, expensive machinery, very complex, a lot of it. So they need to be experienced, they need to have a work ethic, they need to have that ability to hit the ground running, and it's something that firstly we want them from New Zealand. There's no doubt about that, and I think they're here, but they're not being incentivised enough.
So, John, in the first instance, I guess, they need to be able to, what, read and write and have a driver's licence?
That's a no-brainer, isn't it, Rachel? And that's a problem. Some of the skills that these young people have got are really wanting. That aside, if they've got that ability to learn and that work ethic, and they can be trained, and there is industry training organisations that can do that, and you've got your Telfords and you've got these places, but I don't think personally that the secondary level education system is actually encouraging them enough, and that's a problem for us.
Do you come across many people who don't have, you know, a driver's licence? I know when I left school, 16, we all had our driver's licences. Is that the same now? It's bad now. We're getting people, and even, you know, we go to Work and Income and we say we're looking for workers, and they present, or people present, and they haven't got a licence. No good. It's a waste of time. Calvin, sorry, John.
Sorry?
Calvin, if I can bring you in here. The jobs are there, clearly. The money is there. You just need a driver's licence as a first initial step. Is it a case that you think Kiwis, some Kiwis simply don't want to work?
Look, I don't think that's the story. John's been quite kind to your question. It's more complex than that. These guys need efficient, competent operators to work that valuable machinery when they hit the ground for the season they've got ahead of them. They're working long hours in the season, and they know they can pick these guys up from Scotland, Ireland and Europe who know the machinery, they've been here before, they come off their season, they're going to get bang for their buck. The Kiwis have got an historical image and reputation. The rural industry has a reputation of paying minimum wage for long hours. If you divide the salaries they offer them by the hours they work, there's an issue there. They can put 4 foreign workers in a house instead of one family with one worker. They've got a captive audience, they get a tax rebate on their air tickets. That's what's going on behind the scenes, and it's not easy. On the other hand, the government's pouring money into FTE equivalent funding for ITOs. The rural contractors are only a small slice of that. Federated farmers in there with the milking and the farm worker stuff. And it's a big deal going on behind the scenes here. And, you know, Michael Woodhouse asked the question where the money's going and what are they getting out of it for what's happening.
So you're saying, you know, New Zealand's unemployed are essentially being cut out of these jobs?
No, it's a different ball game. I mean, it's not a fair playing field. And to be fair to the contractor, he's got to get the work done. And he hasn't got the time to train on the job. The gear's at risk. And it's about where the training money is going and are we getting the right people out. And some of our own people go over there, so it's a two-way street too. And John will know that our good operators go over there for their season as well. It's not necessarily a full-time job, but I don't think the rural transport industry companies who are moving stock have trouble keeping staff, but they've got a full-time employment.
Bruce Wills, what do you make of what you're hearing here?
Listen, just to pick up a comment that Kelvin made, and listen, a lot of that is certainly what we're hearing, but just to clarify one point, there is an image or a perception that farm working is a low-skilled, low-paid job. But let me put a number on that. We do this yearly survey. We did a survey just a few months ago. It was almost 10% of the total employees. So we think it's a very valid survey. Came back to us that the average farm worker today is earning $5,500 more on average than their minimum wage. So I think this perception of low pay needs to be questioned.
Well, how do you fix that? How do you fix that perception? How do you encourage people to go back as perhaps they did 20 years ago and look at farming as a viable career option?
Yeah, Rachel, listen, that's a big question, and I'll try and be brief with it. But you know, sadly, for too long in some sectors, in my view, there's been too much of a negative view of agriculture, and I guess at a high level that goes back to a well-known previous Prime Minister of this country that called farming a sunset industry. So the image hasn't been as good as it should have been over recent times. Listen, I can say it's improving, and the numbers that I'm seeing coming through, there is an improving image of agriculture. There's more positivity. I think the nation is understanding that agriculture is vital to this economy's success, and we are seeing people understanding that far better than they have in the past, and I think we're beginning to see some good numbers come through university and other training institutes that really want to make agriculture a part of their life. OK,
John Hughes, we've got the Immigration Minister coming up on the programme shortly. What would you like to suggest to him?
Firstly, Rachel, can I pick up on something about pay? There's a perception that the pay is low in the contracting sector. These guys are coming from overseas and in a 4 to 6 month period are earning anything between $25,000 and $40,000 gross. And then they go back and they're living in a global village that they spend next 5 years of summers, and that's what they do, and that's what they want to do.
40,000 for 6 months, you say?
Absolutely, and I talk to guys who have paid their men that because that's what they've done. That's the work that they've produced in that season, in that time.
All right, Calvin Fisher.
It's well more than the minimum wage.
Indeed.
In the contracting sector. Let me say about immigration. We have the situation where yes, they can come and they can do their holiday work visa time, and that's once. If they want to come back again, and we've got a large number of people travelling the world doing that. And if they have to come, if they want to come back again, and they know the industry, they know the job, they know the geographical layout of where they've been, they're familiar with everything, and you have to jump through a whole lot of hoops to get them back. You have to wait to advertise the job, all well and good. We have no problem if we can get them locally, get them in New Zealand.
Okay.
But if we can't get them, for productivity, we need to be able to lessen those hoops so that we can get these people in.
Okay, Calvin Fisher, 40k in a season, does that number ring true to you?
That won't be the average. That's a top earner,
Yes.
and he's been doing a lot of hours to do it. And good luck to them. We deal with these people, and John will know we get a questionnaire from immigration about some of his members. If some of them were less hostile on the phone, so we could help them and process that questionnaire through a bit better, that would help. We tick off some of these within a day. We know the contractors. They ring us. They know the system. They tell us they've got an application in. We've been and visited their sites. We understand it.
Okay.
And it is a complex situation, but we try and make it easy as we can, and we know what the strength of the market is out there. And it's testing times for some of those contractors, there's no doubt about that.
Okay, Bruce Wills, clearly some frustrations within the industry. What would you say to the Immigration Minister? What would you suggest to him?
We certainly got to make the procedures to get these people in and with their visas as simple and straightforward as we need to. We work hard with Immigration New Zealand to try and provide a welcoming and supportive environment for these people when they're here. Because, Rachel, as I was saying, it's critical. We frankly can't run our industry now without significant numbers of immigrant workers. The industry is just too important to be hijacked by lack of labour. So we've got to, if we can't get Kiwis in these roles, we've got to make it easy to attract and retain good quality immigrant labour.
Okay, Bruce Wills from Federated Farmers, Calvin Fisher, Amalgamated Workers Union Southern, and John Hughes, Rural Contractors. Appreciate all of your insight this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.